Hi, we're going to do a little study on death and hell and the lake of fire and outer darkness. And something that's bothered me for a little while. I mean, I'm learning just as everyone else is, and some come to it earlier, sooner, or you know, but we all have made the same mistakes uh, throughout our lives. So um, let's get on with the study. And it says the sea gave up the dead, and which were in it, and death and hell gave up the dead, which were in them, and they were judged, every one of them according to their deeds. According to their works. Imagine that. So we have that, and then death and hell are thrown into the lake of fire. Okay, lake of fire. And the last enemy to be destroyed is death. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. Well, who's got the keys to the bottomless pit? Well, it's certainly not an evil angel. It says, I am the living one. I was dead, and now look, I am alive forever and ever, and hold the keys of death and Hades. So is death. Hell is death. They're thrown into the lake of fire. Well, is the lake of fire outer darkness? No. Because they're all destroyed. The lake of fire would be the Great Tribulation. Because God wishes to save all. All will be saved. Remember, he says he prefers us hot or cold. The hot would be the saints. Cold would be the Muslims, the non-believers in Jesus, because Jesus is the only way to be rectified back to the Father. So we have all these verses here. 112 reasons to believe in God's sovereignty and salvation of all. Okay? God's will be done in heaven and earth. None can stop him. The steps of man are ordered of God. God wounds, then he makes whole. God turns man to destruction. Here's how. Is anybody getting remember the evil angel, the keys to the destruction? The father of destruction is the same as the father of judgment. Judgment and destruction are synonymous. It just depends on your viewpoint. You know, Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. That was judgment. It wasn't an evil angel. It was God that sent the judgment. So it depends on what your perspective is. But God, look at Isaiah 45:7. God creates both good and evil. God will loosen those appointed to death. And remember, it will wipe away all tears. Everyone will bow. Here's the tears one. All families of the earth shall be blessed. God will have all to be saved. Do you think God loves anyone? He loves me more or less than a Muslim, a terrorist, a murderer, or a thief? I mean, we're all of the above. He loves us all the same. Pride gets in the way and says, remember, God's no respecter of persons. Jesus is able to save to the uttermost. All reconciled unto God. All will have to have praise of God. I don't see anybody left out here, do you? And if hell's not forever, hell is just kind of like the Great Tribulation for them that have passed away before, but it's not forever. And this is godfire.net, and he says, none of these scriptures listed will mean anything at all if we're not interested in the truth or studying them and so forth. And he admits that some of the scriptures are not in total context, but you can read them, go and check it for yourself. I mean, some of these are well known. So we're saying, okay, what about this outer darkness? And don't forget, Revelation 1:18, I am the living, I was dead and now look, I'm alive forever and ever, and hold the keys of death and Hades. Remember the angel that descends to the bottomless pit with these keys? Jesus is the only one that has the keys. All right, and here we got outer darkness is a very misunderstood concept in the Bible. Outer darkness has been associated with hell and purgatory and a place of punishment for 1,000 years. And that's the only thing that I know. There's a reward barrier, and I don't know if they spend a certain time period in outer darkness. It's difficult for them to move up with the rewards barrier. Most of them, it is a choice that they live in the shadows or in the valley of the shadow of death, that they're not in, they don't want to have the responsibility of being in the kingdom. Okay? So outer darkness is not hell, purgatory, nor a place of punishment. Although there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, outer darkness is not a place but a position outside of the kingdom. Well, what are we talking about, a position outside of the kingdom? Yes, they're all in heaven, but it's a place of responsibility. See, being cast in outer darkness is the exact opposite of entering the kingdom. Since the kingdom is not a place, outer darkness also is not a place. The word kingdom means king's dominion, and it refers to an important position of authority. Entering the kingdom means to enter into the king's dominion or an important position of authority in the king's government. Remember, the saints shall judge the world, rule and reign with Jesus Christ. And those are ranks of order. And therefore, that just means who go into outer darkness fail to enter the kingdom of that ruling and reigning stuff. It's very simple. And then this person associates it with failing to qualify for a commission in the military, for failing to be an officer, and they are relegated to the ranks of the enlisted. But the people that have been taken to heaven, Elvi Zapata and a few others, all, they have friends that are currently in the valleys and whatnot. And some places in the valleys are better than others, but most of them want to be there. They live in the shadow. And remember, only light can cast a perfect shadow. Only the perfect light can cast a shadow, I should say. And this is different than the other way. It says all Christians. All people will enter heaven with new bodies, either at the first fruits rapture, which is transformation of our bodies, because the saints will judge the world. That's where you get such a small number. The bride, the saints, the two witnesses. And then I've also heard that, they'll come back and help people during the Great Tribulation, but there's an additional extra duty assignment that's offered to, and I'm not quite sure how that all works out. And then there's the main harvest rapture, which is basically a resurrection, because I believe there's, like with the grain harvest, that there are three of those harvests. So, but all Christians, all people will not enter into the kingdom of heaven. They'll go to heaven, but they're not in the ruling and reigning. They will become castaways. Remember, God says He prefers us to be hot or cold. That's your saints. And then you've got your cold, which is your non-believers. And then you've got the lukewarm, which are the Pharisees and so forth. And those are the ones that will have to, go through the Great Tribulation, as a lot of people will go through the Great Tribulation, and there's additional training going on into heaven, and there's all different positions. But those that fail to escape the lake of fire of the Great Tribulation will go into outer darkness, which will be outside the responsibilities and authority of ruling and reigning with Jesus Christ. And I'm not sure how all the ranks add up. But we have this false picture of who God is, and just evil. And then if we're not just part of the, very few that get raptured, everybody else is going to hell. And God loves us all the same. He is no respecter of person. So, it's pride that gets in the way. We're all guilty of all the sins and so forth. So time is real short, and this is good news. Whether you get raptured as a saint, or die in one of the judgments or destructions. All will eventually be saved, and that's a choice we all make. But don't believe me. Take it into personal prayer with God, and seek the Father through Jesus Christ, because that's the only way to be reconciled back to the Father, is through Jesus Christ. And interesting days ahead, no doubt.